Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Luke Who's Talking podcast with me, Luke. How you doing out there? You know what I didn't do? I didn't do the intro, so let's do that first. On this episode of a podcast, I'm going to talk about iTunes dating apps. I haven't put that on my thing, and a challenge update as well. So, let's get into it. Welcome back, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the podcast, which I've already done the intro, but whatever. Anyway, let's get into the first story. So, as I mentioned last show, the shameless self-promotion one. I mentioned that I am launching or have launched, or there's a new podcast out, and so I'm recording this on Monday. I've got the first quote proper episode scheduled for tomorrow, scheduled for Tuesday. So hopefully Friday, when you're listening to this, you can go and you can search it and you can find it. And the new podcast is called Luke Who's Watching. I have done like a trailer episode, but anyway, so that's fine. Now, I had a slight problem. I'm going to say iTunes had the problem. iTunes had a problem with taking the new feed, because so what I've decided to do is I have changed, or I'm using a different media host for that new podcast, and tentative plans on moving this podcast over to the other host as well in due course, simply because of it's more cost effective. So I'm currently with, let's call them out. I'm currently with Podbean. And if I want to host two podcasts on the one account with like no upload restrictions or whatever, I figure it's going to cost me about $20 a month. Okay. Now, the new podcast, I have that currently just set up on Pinecast, and to be able to host Pinecast has unlimited podcast hosting. You can have as many podcasts as you want into one account. But anyway, look, to be able to host multiple podcasts, or in my case, to be two podcasts into one account, it's only going to cost me a flat $10 a month, which is great. So I'm just currently on the free Pinecast account, and I can have 10 episodes per feed, or can have 10 episodes or whatever it is on that. So I'm going to wait till I've uploaded a few more of the Luke Who's Watching, of the new podcast apps onto there, and then I'll change and start working on getting this podcast, Luke Who's Talking, over onto into the other host as well, which could be an absolute circus. Yes. Anyway, so I got the podcast set up. I've got I have another episode ready. Well, actually, I don't. I've recorded another episode to put on there. I haven't edited it yet, but like there's another episode coming. There'll be one out Tuesday, just gone, and all that jazz. So things are happening with the new podcast. Anyway, so in Pinecast, I'd say it's reasonably simple to be able to submit your podcast to various different platforms. So it's on Spotify, it's on TuneIn, all that stuff. Some things you just flick a little switch and it does it for you. Other things there's a little bit more work involved. Anyway, so I got to iTunes, and I thought, okay, so I logged in to my what do I call it these days? Podcast Connect or something. And I put the RSS feed for new podcasts in there, and it was like, right. So I left it for a day, logged back in, and it said there was no artwork for me. So I thought, right, so everything else was fine, and it pulled all the other information from the feed, but it was having a problem with the artwork. I don't know why. So I changed a couple of things, uploaded different pictures, download and whatever. Still was like, nah. So I got onto tech support, that being the affable Mark and the also affable Heather. In one of the Discords I'm in, and we were having a conversation. Oh, and other people turned up as well. But eldest came. Who else was there? Larko. Oh, and Ping. He was there too. So, but they were just talking amongst themselves. Heather and Mark were doing the work. Anyway. And they were a bit stumped. And Mark's a bit of an IT. Mark is a IT guy, dad, and generally bad movie nerd. So he knows what's up. So I sent him my RSS, and he looked through it, and he's like, there's nothing here that's like unusual. It should be working probably. And then I lodged a ticket with Pinecast and said, hey, iTunes doesn't like the artwork apparently. And my response back was like, oh yeah, iTunes has been having some trouble. Maybe you should, you could, stuff wrong with us, there's nothing wrong on our end. Because the podcast, I searched it up on various other platforms and it was showing up and it was working fine. It was just iTunes that was having the problem, which was interesting, I guess you could say. So that was fine. Anyway, so I logged back in this morning. So I left it over the weekend because I was like, I'm done with this. Wiped my hands. I logged back in earlier today, being Monday. I'm recording this. You're hearing it. Oh my goodness, Friday. Confusing. Anyway, I left it over the weekend, logged back in. And actually, no, that's a lie. I logged in on Sunday and it was there. The artwork was there and I was like, yeah. So I thought, cool, it's figured itself out. So I clicked the little submit button and so hopefully you can hop on iTunes and search up Luke Who's Watching. Okay, Luke Who's Watching. And the podcast hopefully will be on there. Now, it is on Spotify for sure. And also I got an email saying that Google Podcasts has taken it on board as well. So it's on Google, hopefully, probably. But yes, so it's on iTunes, which is good because a lot of various podcast apps pull information from iTunes, etc. So that's good. The new podcast, you should be able to listen to it, which would be exciting. And anyway, so it's just a movie podcast. And I have a little bit of, I'm only going to do like one episode a month. I've decided. But anyway, look, the new podcast exists. If I don't forget, I'll put a link to it down below so you can watch it. No, listen to it. Anyway, let's get into the next segment. Welcome back, everybody. So last month, which was, let me see, January, February, March, April. We're in May, aren't we? So for last month, April, I decided to have like a month off, that whole month off, various, quote, dating apps. And I didn't really miss not being on them, which is, it's fine. However, now that I'm, quote, back on, it's really, I'm not really, it's like it's back to square one sort of thing. I haven't really missed anything. It's not like it's interesting because it's not like there's a plethora. It's like you always see the same people and then you've made a decision before on that person. And, you'll be there and you're like, oh, Bandrew Scott, podcaster, and you're like, nah, don't like him. And then you go, Mark, movie guy, dad, generally bad movie nerd, and you like give him the thumbs up. You have a month off, you open up the app, same thing, Sam, psychologist, and you're like, I don't know, and you go, Cam, attorney at law, and you're like, give him a, super thumbs up or whatever. And then you come back later, days later, weeks later, month later, you see the same people again. And you're like, I've made a decision on these people before. Anyway. But I'm sure you're there thinking, you're like, well, Luke, you're out and about a lot on your bicycle, don't you? How about yourself a cycling person? Well, yeah, it's a possibility. But I'm a bit of a homebody. I stay home a lot, so I guess I'm not out and about really seeing/meeting people. But I'll tell you though, the other day I was on a bike ride and I pulled up next to a young lady on a bicycle, and I tell you what, Wasn't it a sight for sore eyes? Ooh, let me tell you about it. It was just magnificent, superb, quality. Let me tell you, quality. And I was like, this is Nirvana right here. The bike, right, it was beautiful. It was a nice purpley blue colour, had SRAM red, electronic group set on it, zip wheels. I reckon it would have been 45 mil deep, rims on it. All it needed, I reckon, was tan sidewalls, and I was there. I was sold. And the young lady riding it, she was also quite nice, because when I pulled up next to her, she was like, "Oh, hi," and we was like, "How you going?" But we're at a roundabout, so no time for idle chit chat. But yeah, I was like, "Whoa, it's delicious." I was most definitely. I mean, I don't know. She was a young woman. I know she looked good, whatever. But the bike was. I was more interested in the bike at the time. So yeah, maybe I should have been like, "So, do you want to tell me about your bicycle, because it looks really good?" Anyway, but yeah, just I don't know. Dating apps, they're not really worth it. I mean, really, they're just a bit average, a bit ordinary. But oh well. See, now I suppose the thing is, because I'm not involved, right? I don't have to justify actions to. I don't have to really justify them to myself. I think you get into a position where you're like, I don't want you riding your bike, don't want doing whatever. And you're like, yeah, you got to justify your actions. Sometimes to some people, I suppose it depends how your relationship is. Anyway, that's whatever. Let's move on to a challenge update after this. I'm getting through this slightly quickly. I don't know, that middle, this morning I was thinking I need a third story, and then I was like, I could just say about how dodgy dating apps are, which I sort of did very briefly. Anyway, now just a quick update on the challenge. Now, I talked about that, of course, in the last episode of the podcast. And a big thank you out there to everybody who has donated. When I checked my donation thingy earlier today, this is on Monday, I had reached my goal of $650 doolittles. I think I had about 730 maybe on now. I don't know. It'd be good to see if I can get to $1,000. That'd be nice. Anyway, we'll move on from that. But just a general update on it. So at this point, that being Monday, I've done 271 kilometres. So by the end of this week, I'm hoping to get that to 400. And then I'll have sort of 2 weeks-ish left to do the other, 250 or so. So after that's only 125 a week. Because my plan was hopefully the first 2 weeks, so I get some big-ish kilometres in. So then the last, then I can sort of ease it back a little bit at the end of the month, or towards the end of the month, which I think that plan seems to be sort of going okay. And also, May's a good month because it has maximum days with, what have we got, 31 days? So we have maximum days, maximum time to be doing anything. If this was in February, the shortest month, 28 days, probably be, a bit, or 20, how many ever days? Yeah, Feb's got 28 days, doesn't it? I don't know. It'd probably be a little bit more tricky because I've got a couple of less days, but I've got, 31 absolute maximum days. Now, one more thing before I just wrap this up is it has been brought to my attention that a couple of people have doubted my ability, have doubted the fact that I'll be able to ride the 650 kilometres. So I'm calling them out right here on this show. As far as I'm concerned, or as far as I'm aware, I should say, they're doing nothing. They're not doing a challenge or a fundraiser or anything for the cause. So, I mean, it doesn't matter if I reach my challenge goal or what. I've raised a few dollars, and and what are they doing? Hey? Nothing. Sitting round. Feet up, probably. Bag of chips. They're probably having a bag of Mexican Doritos right now. So I was informed of that the other day by somebody who had been talking to some people, and they're like, "Oh, don't know if he's going to do it. Don't know if he's going to do it. Oh, it's a lot. Don't reckon he'll do it." But I've probably done. I should have. The person who told me this, I should have said to them to tell the other people how many or how far do you reckon, or do they reckon I can go? Because 271, only a week in, not a bad effort. Anyway, let's wrap it up. Well, everybody, thank you very much for watching. If you're watching on the YouTube, thank you very much for listening. This does come around quick, doesn't it? I was just like the other day, I was like, oh yeah, gotta do that. Gotta come up with something for the show or whatever. Yeah. Anyway, you can send me an email, of course, luke@gmail.com, or send me a tweet at @L_who's_talking. And keep an eye out for the new podcast as well. If you want to, Luke, who's watching, hopefully you can search it up on your application of choice and you'll be able to see it. I've just had an email. Oh, what's that? Streamlabs. Go away. Everybody, thanks very much for watching. If you've watched it, thanks for listening, and I'll catch you next time.